Welcome to Hot Tees and the Center for T-Shirt Excellence, where we make your t-shirt dreams a reality. Normally, we would bring our custom apparel experience to you, but since we can't be on site today, we have created an online store that will be available for the next 5 days. Every shirt is made right here in our shop in Harrisburg, Oregon. Let me show you some of the options that we have. This tie-dye I'm wearing is one of my personal favorites, but wait, it's missing something. That's better. And if tie-dye isn't your style, we have a variety of other options. And we even have jackets and hats. Some say what we do is a little bit of magic, but to us, it is just part of a normal day. We hope you will shop with us online at hotteesapparel.com/Mount Hood Jazz.
What began in a small workshop in the Sellwood area of Portland over 75 years ago has now grown into the largest piano dealership in North America. For 4 generations, one Portland family has been honored to serve the piano needs of musicians, schools, institutions, artists, and music lovers throughout the Pacific Northwest and beyond. This is the evolving story of classic pianos, and the story of the Eunice family, a family steeped in the love of pianos. It all began when Maurice T. Schuster, a violinist with the Portland Symphony and piano technician, opened a small piano shop that specialized in tuning, servicing, and restoring vintage pianos. Within a short time, his reputation as a master piano technician was well established and the business grew steadily. The growth continued, culminating with bringing his grandson, Maurice Eunice, into the business in the 1970s, nurturing, coaching, and cultivating Maurice's love of pianos and piano restoration. After his grandfather's passing, Maurice continued in the piano business, eventually opening and growing a successful piano retail showroom in Portland, and then selling that business to a large national chain. In the early 90s, Maurice began serving as a piano and promotional consultant assisting piano dealers, and in early 2001 opened another small piano showroom in Portland with his son Brian under the name Classic Pianos. Soon Maurice was joined by his other sons, Aaron and Taylor. Since that short time, Classic Pianos has grown into the largest and most awarded piano dealership in the U.S., with 7 showrooms throughout North America, including Portland, Seattle, Denver, Albuquerque, Las Vegas, Boston, Anchorage, and now serving all of the Hawaiian Islands. Even though the company has grown nationally, at its heart, it is still a family-owned and operated business with the belief that music can change lives for the better. Maurice has often said, "We deal with dreamers, professional pianists, teachers, beginners of all ages who want choices." Each pianist longs to find the perfect piano that suits their particular taste and preference. Ask what he means by choices, and Maurice explains it this way: "We continue to partner with the best manufacturers and never stop researching to ensure we offer value and quality. We carry pianos ranging from entry-level studio and professional uprights to heirloom models from Börsendorfer, Yamaha, Schimmel, and Estonia, as well as a comprehensive collection of nearly new, like new, and restored Steinways from every era."
To see how Classic Pianos can serve you and your piano needs, visit us at classicpianosportland.com.
Hey!
Hey!
Hi!
It's time to crack an egg.
Easy, any style egg works here.
Or smile.
Well done, this looks great.
Time to share a story.
I have a great way to start our discussion.
With old friends or new ones.
When you're a caregiver.
Time to breathe in.
Inhale up. Good job.
Then let it all out. It's never been easier to connect, learn, and have fun.
Cheers!
So let's do it together. Come find us at aarp.org/near-you.
Hello, my name is Roland Andrews, Vice President of AARP. And on behalf of AARP and our AARP Oregon team, welcome to the 2021 Mount Hood Jazz Festival. As you know, jazz is a uniquely American art form that is deeply rooted in the African American Black tradition, culture, and heritage. But more importantly than any of that, jazz is just food for the soul. It provides a measure of peace, it can provide a measure of comfort, and it can provide overall healing in a time like this when we need it most. So what I want you to do now is just sit back. I want you to relax and just take in those smooth, comfortable, cool, healing sounds of American jazz. So on behalf of the organizers of the Mount Hood Jazz Festival and your good friends and wise defenders at AARP, welcome to the 2021 Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Thank you and enjoy.
and happy International Jazz Day. My name is Dan Davey. I'm the Director of Jazz Studies here at Mount Hood Community College and the Festival Director for the Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Welcome to our 2021 virtual Jazz Festival, a 3-day immersion into the jazz culture. Although we wish you could be here with us in person, we're excited to bring you over the next 3 days, 6 live streamed performances and 6 master classes as well. Jazz represents the foundation of this country through improvising and navigating relationships. Grounded in Black and African American culture, this genre has gone on to celebrate and include people from all backgrounds, genders, races, and religions. Jazz is born out of the oppression and racist cruelty that no person deserves, and a level of discrimination that should have never existed. Although progress has been made in the recent past, our work must continue. Jazz is about overcoming injustice and rising above. It serves as the perfect vehicle for education and harmony on social justice issues. At the Mount Hood Jazz Festival, we take pride in bringing music of these values to you through live performances, education, and our annual festival. We are hopeful that the response of so many Americans will lead to a change that values equity, inclusion, and love for all. The Mount Hood Jazz Festival honors the indigenous people whose traditional and ancestral homelands we stand on and we hold this festival on this weekend. The Multnomah, the Kathlamet, the Clackamas, the Tumwater, the Watwalla, bands of the Chinook, the Tualatin, Kalapuya, and many other indigenous nations of the Columbia River. It's important to acknowledge the ancestors of this place and to recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their descendants. We thank PSU's Native Nations in collaboration with local tribe elders for the crafting of this statement. We have a wonderful session in store for you right now with a fantastic musician I'm sure you're familiar with. I'm going to turn this over to one of our outstanding local music educators who will be moderating this session. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cynthia Navarro.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 Virtual Mount Hood Jazz Festival. I am super excited to moderate for this next artist. I have been quite literally a lifelong fan of this person, has absolutely shaped my education as a trombone player. We have Sing It First with the one and only Wycliffe Gordon. Mr. Gordon is has just an impressive career. He was named Jazz Journalist's 2019 Trombonist of the Year for the 12th time, and Downbeat Critics poll named Wycliffe the best trombone player again for 2018. He has won 2018, 16, 14, 13, and 12. Mr. Gordon is a Yamaha artist, and thank you so much, Yamaha, for making it possible to have him join us here today. I would also like to thank our sponsors, AARP Oregon, Clackamas County Bank, the City of Gresham, Classic Pianos, Gresham Sanitary, the Gresham Center for the Arts Foundation, Austin Custom Brass, and Spinella's Restaurant. These partners, as well as sponsors, as well as several partners and supporters, have allowed us to bring this festival to you this weekend. You can visit our website for a complete list and to learn how you might also help support the festival so that we can continue to elevate our jazz community both locally and beyond. During our session, please make sure that you use the chat for any questions or comments you might have. Mr. Gordon will be taking questions during his session. So again, it is my pleasure to bring to you today Sing It First with the one and only Wycliffe Gordon.
Hello, everyone. Well, I can't see anyone but the folks that just happen to be on the screen with me. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay. Well, great. Well, happy Friday. And I get thrown off when you say morning. I forget you all are on the West Coast. because it's actually 1:30, 1:35 or something in the afternoon here. But welcome to the festival. So sorry we can't be there in person, but in the spirit of jazz and creativity, uh, we had to figure out a way to just bring it to you. We've had to find different ways to teach, different ways to play, to perform, to record, and it's been like this up and down. Anyway, sing it first. I will just give my spiel and what that means, and how I came to that title. But basically, if you can sing it, you can play it. And how does that apply? How does that apply to jazz? With improvisation, sometimes we get caught up in theoretically just figuring out music, like E equals MC squared, or F minor equals F A flat C and E flat. Then there's the chord and the chord scale relationships. It seems like a lot to think about, but the way that we naturally hear music, we sing. That's how we learn to talk. We imitated someone. And that's where I'm going with this. It used to have a long title. A good friend of mine, Alan Raff, came up with, he said, so, sing it first. I said, it's a much better title. So anyway, I'll give a couple of demonstrations and basically just kind of break down what that means. And if I were in a class, I'll demonstrate by warming up and playing something on my horn, and then giving an example of what we would do if we were together. And then I'll take questions all along, just stop me because I'll keep talking. So I have my Yamaha trombone today, and I'm gonna warm up because I haven't really played today. I played 2 or 3 notes earlier, but this is how I warm up, and then I'll talk a little more after. Anyway, that's kind of a silly warm up, but everything I play, I try to imitate that by singing. And what do I mean by that? Everything. I started off kind of low, and as I felt my chops getting warm, I began to go a little higher, then incorporate the tongue, and then even do some singing, which is multiphonics. But everything I played, I try to sing because how do you know? It's like learning the words to a song. Could be a pop song, gospel song, whatever type of music you may like to listen to that has words. But you don't know the words until you actually say them. So you don't know the phrase until you can actually sing it. And if you sing it first, that means that you internalize the sound and the rhythm. So if you sing accurately and in tune, then that means that you've internalized the music and you can teach yourself. What do I mean by that? Do, 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 do. Ooh-wee, doo-doo-bo-do-ee-hoo. If I were in class with you, I'd tell you or ask you to sing something. And I'll say I would do something like this. I'll sing a phrase. Do, then ask you to sing it back, and you would go. Do, then I'll say. Do, 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 and then you would say. Do, 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 something like that. And then I'll do something like this and tell you to sing it in time. I'll give it a tempo. We'll do like a bar phrase. I'll sing a phrase and then you sing it back. Bum, bum, dum, dee, down. You would sing that. So where the put it bum bum. You where the put it bum bum. Ooh, then ooh, bum bum do 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 bum, and you sing it back, right? And then I'd ask you, well, what key am I singing in? And somebody who has perfect pitch may say B flat. Most people probably would say, I don't know. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. If you sang what I sang, that means you imitated me, you heard me, and it didn't matter the key. So just like when you're improvising, it didn't matter what the key was, but you made music. So oftentimes I'll get students that will ask me how to do certain things. I said, so you sang what I sang. Now I want you to play what I want you to sing what I play. Bum bum booty doo doo. Booty doo doo doo. Now, and even if you don't get the phrase, if you don't sing it correctly, when I start playing things that are a little more difficult, the sound starts to thin down. But oftentimes students will ask me, well, how do you flutter tongue? And I said, I did this. Without thinking about it, not the mechanics of flutter tonguing. You heard it and you imitated it. You didn't think, how do I make that happen on a horn? How do I make that happen musically? You just imitated the sound, the same way that we learn to speak. So you sing it first. Doesn't matter the key, doesn't matter the position, doesn't matter the chord change, doesn't matter any of that. But if you come close and eventually get to where you're singing it accurately and in tune, then it's like, okay, that's where the music happens. This sound here. Automatically you go. I get kids that will ask me that all the time. How do you make that sound? But I'll play it and they go, wee, wee, and they may sing it up the octave. And I always tell the fellas, I'll play up high. And I say, and you know, sometimes We want to be cool musicians and not sing, we sing in our cool voice. I said, no, I tell the fellas, get in touch with your feminine side, ooh, and sing high. And then I tell ladies that get in touch with your masculine side and don do do dee dee don. And some of the ladies they hit those low notes. I said, see, that's great, because if you're not afraid to try it singing, then you won't shy away from it when you're playing on your instrument. I mean, I'm playing a trombone, but it doesn't matter what the instrument is. And that's kind of the spiel. I wake up, I sing all the time. You want to work on your double tonguing? Anything pedagogical? Sing it. Sing it first. But I'll demonstrate, then I'll sing it. If you sing it, you can play it. So, and normally in a master class, I'd ask this question. So I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to answer it at the same time, even though I know we have an audience out there. I can't really see you guys. But how do you work on any aspect of your musicianship? And that's it. You simply sing it. Sing your tonguing and then play it into the mouthpiece. Sing your tonguing, play it into the mouthpiece. Ticka 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 ticka. Daga 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 da. Diddly 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 diddly. So if you want to work on some aspect of your musicianship, even sing that. And the thing is, if you sing it, you're working on music. Because a lot of times we pick up our instruments, whether it's trumpet, trombone, oboe, flute, lute, saxophone, violin, it doesn't matter. Even percussion instruments where you're not, you may be playing with your limbs like, you may be playing rhythms, but if you can sing the rhythms, you can train yourself to play them. But if you sing it, that means if you can sing it, that means it's in your body. So I say sing it first, because I want you to try to sing something sometimes before you play it. And especially as it pertains to jazz, if you want to learn a solo rather than trying to figure out, man, what is J.J. Johnson playing? What is Louis Armstrong playing? How did Benny Goodman do that? Try to sing what they did before you play it. Because if you get it in your body, then you can work it out on the instrument. Because the instrument is what? An extension of what? Our voices. A band director used to tell me that in high school, and I didn't know that. I believed him, but it became very obvious after I started, singing. And the more you practice singing, the better your voice. Singing helps you with phrasing and everything. So that's kind of my spiel on singing it first as it applies to pedagogy and as it applies to jazz. You have to get the pedagogy because jazz is just what? It's a language, it's a style, but you have to master mechanics of playing, your instrument. And you can do that by singing. And I'm sorry, the last thing I'll say before we take a question is, my question to you would be, what is the most difficult thing about practicing? I ask this question all the time. What's the most difficult thing about practicing? I'll get answers like, knowing what to practice. Yeah, that's difficult. Knowing how long to practice. And I get all these philosophical answers, but the answer I'm looking for, the most difficult thing about practicing is simply getting started. Why? You have to find time to practice. You have to find a room to practice in, then time and a room that coordinate. And, there's so many, you have to take your instrument out of the case. That's the first thing. But singing, we go to sleep with and we wake up with our voices every day. So even though I may sound a little groggy in the morning, I'm always humming something or maybe singing something that I'm working on. So anyway, I'll stop there. And I just want I want to encourage you to work on your singing, whether you're doing an excerpt, may sound funny, but if you can sing it, it'll help you with everything from reading, phrasing, and all of that. So I'll stop now and maybe take a question.
Yeah,
Question or
absolutely.
two.
So we have a question from our YouTube live feed from Victor. Victor asks, what inspired you to play and get where you are?
Get where I am. I don't know where I am, but what inspired me to play? I grew up in a household with music. My father played classical piano. He studied classical piano and he played in church. So at home, we heard classical piano music all the time. He had an upright grand piano with a reel-to-reel recorder on it. And he put speakers in the room and we would hear Mozart, Beethoven, Schumann, Schubert, some of his favorite piano music. And that's what he studied. The practical application of his musical skills took place in church. He played the piano and organ for church, so we heard a lot of gospel music growing up. And so music was just kind of in our household. And, my dad tried to get us to take piano lessons or learn to play the piano at age 5 or 6. But it was hard to go do, do, dee, do, do. And when you hear all of the boys outside, either playing football, shooting marbles, or something we did back, in those days, it's like, I don't want to do this. And he didn't make us take lessons, but then age 11, I took piano lessons again, along with my sister Karen. And at age 12, my brother Lucius, who's a year older than me, he was 13, he went to junior high school and chose band for the electives. And the band director suggested that, he take trombone. And his parents got him a trombone one day. And I come home from school and I saw it in the case. And I was like, I want one. And that's kind of where it started. And I fell in love with playing. Actually, I originally wanted to play drums. My parents said, under no circumstances, and absolutely not. You all make enough noise as it is. So I didn't get the drums, but I begged and pleaded till they got me a trombone. And by my second year playing, I really, I always liked music. And I was taking piano lessons at age 11 and 12. But after my second year piano lessons, I discontinued. I continued to play and for my youth choir in the church because I could play by ear. But piano lessons was one-on-one with my piano teacher, great Mr. Foster, and I could play duets with my sister Karen. But once I got in the band, it was like, trumpets and a bunch of trombones and clarinets and flutes and oboes and drums. The band class was like kids. And I just told my parents I didn't really want to take piano anymore. I just started doing band full time. And after playing, I kind of fell in love with making music. And, after about my third year playing, that's when I discovered jazz. But that's initially how I fell in love with it. How I get to now, I stuck with it. I started trying out for the all-county band, the district band, then the all-state band, and then going to solo and ensemble. In my 11th grade year, I tried out for the McDonald's All-American High School marching band and made that and was one of 12 trombonists from around the United States. I was by far not the best. All those guys could, really play, but I was always inspired by music. And, I continued, went to college and I met Wynton Marsalis and got a chance to play for him. And a few years later, I started playing with him. And I think I knew by the time I got out of high school, I wanted to major in music. Still didn't know whether or not I would have a career performing, but I was going to study music education, and it just so happened it worked out that way for me. I got the opportunity. I wouldn't say I was I was pretty. Make sure my phone is on. I was pretty prepared, but Winton invited me to come play at a club he played in Texas called the Caravan of Dreams, and I was really just kind of. I had gotten bitten. I'd become bitten by the bug, and I've always loved music, but I always loved what music did for me and the joy it would bring to me. Then I, in turn, would try to play music would bring that kind of joy to other folks. So that's what happened.
Thank you. We have another question here. What other instruments do you enjoy playing?
All of them. I play 23 instruments. I play all of the brass instruments. My room is not so dirty, but this is my music room at home. You see a tuba back there. My chair's in the way, but I have trumpets, flugelhorns, have a few keyboards here. My Pro Tools setup, due to the unfortunate pandemic, I learned to do things I would never do before, like learn how to operate Pro Tools and start recording. But I have an upright bass drum set. I play the didgeridoo, and that came from being a band geek. Kind of like we'd have a recess period or a free period, and during my free period, I'd go down to the band room, and if instruments were out, I would I would go and play them. I love learning the mechanics of what made an instrument work. And matter of fact, when we were in junior high school still, me and my brother Lucius played trombone, and two buddies of ours that were in the band together, they played trumpets. And every now and then on the weekends, we go bike riding or go play some sports, one street against the other, and baseball or basketball games. I wasn't a good basketball player, but anyway, football. It was just things that kids would do after chores on the weekends. But sometimes my buddies would leave their horns at our house, and I was like, trumpet. And once I figured out the seven positions on the trombone, seven fingering combination on the trumpet, or all the valve instruments, and tuba was my second one, by the way. But I love to hear the sound of music. So figuring out the mechanics of what makes an instrument work, and and practicing it and trying to figure it out is what made me, I even have a clarinet. I don't play it that much. I have a saxophone, but and it's clarinet is one of the 23 that I'll count. The ones that I don't play well, I don't count, and I don't play them well because I spend most of my time as a brass player, and mostly a trombone player. But that's how that happened.
Awesome. Thank you. We have another question, speaking of multiple instruments, from a YouTube comment. What advice would you have for a parent of a musical child? Is it important to stick with their primary instrument, or should I encourage them to try multiple instruments?
Encourage them to practice and to be happy. If they're depending on the instrument they play. Most saxophone players, if you're going to play saxophone, it would be good to double on reeds. So, for instance, you'll see a lot of big bands, 5 saxes, 4 trombones, 4 or 5 trumpets. But a lot of times, the saxophone players may double on clarinet, or they play various saxophones, or they play flute. And if they're woodwind players, the more instruments they can play, the more they create an opportunity for them to get higher. Take, for instance, a good friend of mine in the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, however it's called now, Ted Nash. He plays all of them very, very well. He's equally great on clarinet, tenor saxophone, alto saxophone, flute, piccolo. What else does he play? And the thing is, so if he gets the call, but he would do Broadway shows. He could read very well, meaning when I say very well, he came into a rehearsal before we started doing the, at that time, Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra full time. And he came in and basically read something that was very difficult. It was like, wow. I mean, and and just nailed it. But he's a great example. So the more instruments you play, particularly as a woodwind player, if I'm hired like the guy that plays with my group, the International All Stars, Adrian Cunningham, great clarinetist, great tenor saxophonist, great alto, great flute, great piccolo, whatever he touches is like. And so when I get to compose or arrange, I have all of those colors to choose from. Same thing with brass players, but I mean, if you play trombone, pretty much you're gonna play trombone. But I play trombone, trumpet, and tuba. But if you're in a band, you're probably gonna play one or both, depending, or multiple instruments, depending on the band. But for the parents, I would just say to remain encouraging for the students to pursue what makes them, happy. And what makes me think about that is a story. I flew in to do a masterclass or to work with the band that was preparing for the essentially Ellington competition years ago at Jazz at Lincoln Center. And the parent picked me up from the airport to take me to the school. And she was talking about her son who played saxophone. It's like, wow, he plays the saxophone. He practices all the time. I think he was in the 11th or 12th grade. I forget, but he loves it more than anything else in the world. I said, oh, wow, that's great. I'm sure I'll see him on the bandstand one day. And she said, well, I like the fact that he loves the music so much, but I'm worried about him getting, being able to work and earn a living. The profession is so difficult. So we meaning I guess her and her husband, wanted him to consider doing something other than or in addition to music. And my question to her was then, well, I would never tell anyone to do. I would never tell anyone what to do regarding their children. But I said, didn't you just say he loves that more than anything? And she said, yes. I said, well, why would you want him to do something other than something that he loves? He loves so much. And I get the understanding. I understand and I get it, the concern. Sorry. I get the concern that parents have about the kids because you want the kids. I have 5, want them to grow up and do well. But I find that when they're doing something that they love to do, they go after that. They practice, they prepare. And students will ask me sometimes, how do you get in your position? What did you do? I said, I didn't know. There's no template for that. I practiced and I studied and the opportunity was there. And lots of times, just like how I met Winton, he came to my school. I would travel around and do workshops and master classes and we meet students and invite them to audition for things where they're going to be around those musicians and professional musicians because we feel like if a student is practicing and they're playing at a level where they are like semi-pro level already, then it's something they may want to consider. So we put them in opportunities, or invite them into opportunities where they're going to be around other students that are doing that, but also the professionals. And oftentimes, a lot of the musicians have gotten hired, and a lot of them have started their own, their own bands and their own groups. So I would just say to that parent, just continue to encourage. What can I ask? What instrument does their child play, or is it too late to ask that?
They may still be watching, so let's see if we'll get an answer.
Well, sure. Well, yeah. Just encourage them, and we're happy to talk to them. But there's this camp. There's several camps. If they're in high school, if they want to go to college, they should prepare in their 11th grade year and start auditioning then. So we want to see them successful, regardless of what they do. But one thing I will say, and the last thing I'll say, and we can take the next question, is I've seen people from all walks of life and all of my travels that are successful teachers, business people, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and and if even if they're not in music, the one thing they always hit at the concerts, I remember when I took band or when I used to play the clarinet, when I used to play trumpet in the band, and there are many things about school that are great, but if you've got a chance to be in a band or a chorus, a group where you're playing different instruments or singing different parts, and the success of what you create is when everyone's doing that together and everyone is, blending in the band, blending in the chorus. It's something that I like to kind of use as a way that we can kind of get together in the world, just like a band. If you play a great solo, well, that's cool. But how did the groups and everyone is equally important. Whether you're in the woodwind section, percussion section, string section, or brass. You have different brass, you have different woodwinds, you have all types of percussion, but the success of a musical performance comes when everybody's playing their part. Whether it's first trumpet or third clarinet, doesn't matter. So, anyway.
We actually did get a response to your question, Wycliffe. The student plays percussion.
Well, yeah, if they're playing percussion, I'm not sure if they're a drum set player, if they're playing jazz, but if they're percussion, by the mere fact that that parent said percussion, they probably play quite a few percussion instruments. But I would say double. I don't know what percussion. If it's rhythmic percussion, like, snare drum, yeah, probably bass drum, yeah, probably. But learn the melodic percussion, like the marimba, so that you get a sense of harmony and melody. So if they're doing that, then they're great. If they're not, tell them to start.
Perfect.
Get started.
Thank you. Here's another question from our YouTube feed. It's an equipment question. Do you have a preference for horns, mouthpieces?
Yes. I mean, I'm a Yamaha artist, and I love their instruments, but I love the fact that they allowed me to help develop the instrument that I play. I was a part of that process. So an instrument that I helped to design, this is not it. It's my small bore horn, but I love their instruments, but the question is more about practice and the individual. That's important to understand. Just as an individual as we are, when it comes to our person, ourselves, we're individual. So the horn that I play may not be the best horn fit for you. You may like a small bore horn. You may like a large bore horn. You may like Yamaha, you may like Bach, you may like, Shires. There are lots of instrument companies. You will find that out the more that you practice. So I designed my own mouthpiece with the help of mouthpiece, now trumpet maker as well, Peter Pickett. I played Bach mouthpieces for a long time, Greg Black, and there are some mouthpiece companies that will design one for you. Then I met Peter Pickett, and I designed my own mouthpiece line. So I would say you got to get the Wycliffe Gordon mouthpiece, but I'd rather tell you you have to get the one that works best for you. And the only way to know that, I must say, is practice. Practice, practice. Try a couple of different mouthpieces. I used to pick out the trumpet players, like when we went to Allstate, in the Allstate Jazz Band. One trumpet player had like 7 mouthpieces. One for playing high, one for playing low, one for playing when it's hot, one for playing when it's cold, one for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I said, why you got all those mouthpieces? And then, it's funny. And then my hero, Louis Armstrong, he played everything on one. And that's not to say that you shouldn't, but a lot of times we can get caught up in equipment, and the equipment that you develop is right here. Get a mouthpiece that feels comfortable, and if you need You don't want to put a tuba mouthpiece on a trumpet, of course not. But they're different size trumpet mouthpieces. Your bone structure is different. The size of your lips is different. And you have to play whatever you're comfortable playing. And after many years of playing and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of hours of practicing, I found a mouthpiece that fit best for me. And we compare all mouthpiece sizes to Bach because Bach was the standard. Many mouthpiece companies now, but Bach was the standard for so many years because they made all the mouthpieces for all the instruments. Of course, Yamaha has mouthpieces now and other companies, and lots of people are making mouthpieces, but nothing, and absolutely nothing, can make up for practice. You can get a pretty mouthpiece, you can get a nice shaped mouthpiece, but until you practice, the mouthpiece is not going to do that much. You play the instrument doesn't play it.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. We've got some questions regarding technique. Do you have any advice or exercises that folks can use to develop flexibility or the upper range?
Yes, I do. All of them. The exercises, and when we hang up, if you like, I don't know if it's for all brass players, it's pretty much the same. Most of what I've done has been written for trombone because mostly I do trombone lessons. But there are flexibility exercises. There are many. You have the Schlossberg book. You have many different books that you can study. But I find it three. You're either going to be dealing with interval relationships, small to large intervals. You're going to be dealing with movement that's linear, whether it's up and down the horn, whether you're going like this. All the way down the horn, or one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and then back up, starting with the minor third, then the major third, then the perfect fourth, then the perfect fifth. So major third, fourth, fifth, and then the sixth, which will be between the D to the F, and you can always start on the bottom note, but now you're skipping over a partial. So see how you heard that? You don't want any of that there. And I'm happy to send those exercises to someone if you want to send them out to the trombone players or brass players. I think I did some. I transposed it for trumpet as well. And so there's the interval studies. Then there's the linear studies where you're moving air up and down. Then there's a combination of the two, where you're skipping over intervals and you're moving linearly up and down the horn. And this is on an exercise by Marsteller. And I give you these three, and I'm not saying to not do the Schlossberg or anything else. It's just this is what worked for me, and I've done a lot of the other exercises. I have a lot of the books still, but if you master these three, and I'll demonstrate the last one. hard to play with these headphones on. But anyway. It's so much easier when I can hear the natural sound of my horn. And then there's the extension of that exercise. There's two extensions. I'll just do the second one. The first one. And I'm happy to send it. And I would say to master the first two before going on to the third one. And that depends on how much time you have to practice. And I would suggest that you do everything no tongue. Da, ya, da. And then do all of your exercises that way. And if you have enough time, then go back and do everything legato tongue. If you don't, do the one with all air and then do staccato tongue. Bum, boo, 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 bum, 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 boo, 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 boo. It's difficult to do very fast. And you know, once you master that helped a lot with my control and flexibility. And I want to demonstrate it where you're going from position to one. And I always think about trying to do it in one breath, but practice everything with a metronome. And I really would have to take the time to demonstrate how important it is to do everything slowly and make sure that you have full control of the sound and that everything sings. As far as range, there's a couple of exercises in the arbitrum book. The range is just, if you master playing something on the instrument, you just start moving up in half steps. So if you're playing like this. If you don't play that high, you want to start where your high note is. You play comfortably. If that's G, play up to G, practice up to A flat, and it's important when you get to it. Don't do like this. Hit the note. You want to go. You want to play the note for an extended period of time so you can see what it feels like to breathe and for you to become comfortable and familiar with how you're going to breathe there. It's kind of like going into a place that's like high altitude. Denver's a mile high, we call it a mile high city, 5,280 feet or whatever. Then you go up to Aspen or to Vail, Colorado, and it's some areas like 8,500 feet. Some areas are closer. If you're going up the mountain, you get close to like 10,000 feet. The air's thin up there, and you may get a little winded. It's like, it's a little difficult to breathe, but if you stay there, then it becomes, you adjust your breathing and how you take the air in, and that's the same thing. Oftentimes, students will say, it's hard to play in that key. I can't play in that key. It's not hard. All keys are the same. It's a matter of being familiar. Just like when it comes to range. Well, it's hard to play in that range. No, it's not. You just have to practice slowly. If your highest note is an F, then work up to F sharp. When you get to F sharp, hit it and hold it. Get used to breathing there. And when you get tired, take a breath. Take a rest. I'm sorry. Yeah, breath too. You have to. And and you have to do it consistently. It can take about 45 minutes to do just the slurs alone. If you don't have the kind of time to put towards just slurs, then do the all air and then the staccato. But it should still take about 30 minutes. And I'll send those exercises.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I have one final question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any words of encouragement for musicians who are struggling to find motivation right now during this pandemic?
Yeah. Yes. It's been difficult for all of us, but one of our great leaders said it's easy to stand to be happy and to be good when things are easy and everything's great. This is a time to test our resilience and not be tested this way, but we don't have a choice. It's here. I was talking with my students. My last day of classes here at the university was yesterday. We have exams starting next week. This is a time it's a lot of things. There's the pandemic, there's all the social issues that are going on in the world. And I just remember everything shut down for me. My last gig last year was March 6th. And for the first time in 35 years, I stayed in the same bed at my house for more than 3 weeks. And I kind of like it. I love it. I love being home. Words of encouragement, this is the time to get a lot of things together. I mean, and you have to find what we professionals know that music does, what music does, and what we do when we're playing and performing. We want to make the situation better. The world needs music right now. So this is the time, when we're in a time of crisis, music is not gonna feed us. It's not gonna necessarily nurture our bodies, and if you're worrying about, man, what's going to happen, sometimes you can listen to music, but if you're a musician, you have the opportunity to make things better for people. It's just like if people come to your concert and they feel good, they should feel better when they leave. If they feel great, they should feel greater when they leave. And there was a time I used to be concerned about, how did I sound good? Did I play what I was supposed to play? And we want to do that. But there's a bigger picture. When you play music, the success of your concert, everyone has to do their part. And that's why everyone plays an equal part in the success of the music. In the jazz band, from the lead alto down to the bass trombone, third trumpet, it doesn't matter. All your parts, if everyone if everyone does their part, it can really be successful. I will say, as a word of encouragement, the general word of encouragement that I give, I know it's really bad and looks like maybe we're about to come out of it or get to the next step or phase, but just make sure you're doing something that you love to do. And if that's playing music, utilize this time. And it didn't go to school, everything changed. But it's like now you can really get inside of yourself and search, like, this is what I want to do. Find out what makes you happy and do that. Because even if you don't play music full-time professionally, or even when you go to college, you may be the next person to present concerts, or you may become a philanthropist to make it possible where others can bring music and, just, I don't want to say to help people out, but it's a cliched phrase, and music makes the world go round. I'm proud to be a musician. Find out what it is that you love to do and, try to do that. There's nothing like hearing someone say, oh, I got to get up and go to work today. You wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, I got to go to this job. I can't wait for vacation. Vacation for me, it's probably kind of like work for everyone. I love what I do. I love playing. I love teaching. I love composing. I love arranging. I get to make music. And it's like, and I get to make music with other people. I get to meet students and watch them in their development, and that's really important to me. So, as difficult as it is, if you don't feel like playing music, you don't feel like practicing, put on some music, that you love, because even though it may not nourish our physical bodies, music, I think, nourishes. I take that back. I know it does. It nourishes the soul, and I've seen it all over the world. And as I look back over it, I'm so happy that I chose to do something that I love to do. To that parent that was talking about the student and the story that I shared earlier, if you can just be encouraging, and you may find that you get to college or even out of high school, you may not want to do music, but one thing I will guarantee you, if you take the things that you learn to do in music through repetition, practicing, to master something, to develop something, you can apply that to anything. So, it's a privilege to play music. It's a privilege to hear music. And if you're fortunate enough that you're playing an instrument or you're singing and making music, continue to do that. We need it. I need it. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Wycliffe. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to moderate this session. I'm definitely fangirling on the inside. To those of
Well,
you who
thank you.
are watching our live feed and would like to catch the rest of the sessions, please make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. And we also have a link in our YouTube for supporting the Mount Hood Jazz Festival. Again, thank you so much. Thanks to Dan Davey for having me here today.